Hello all, I am Nishadali again. In this video, I will be explaining you guys about the advantages and disadvantages of client-side versus server-side load balancing. I will be explaining the advantages and disadvantages based on few factors. Those are cost, throughput, lightweight client support, network latency, and microservice architecture support. Let's get started. The first factor is the cost. If you are going to use a server-side load balancer, you know that it needs to be installed as a separate server on a physical or virtual machine. For doing that, you will have to allocate some reasonable amount of CPU and memory for that. So it is clearly a cost. Further, there are two categories of server-side load balancers, such as software load balancers and hardware load balancers. Software load balancers available in the market as free and commercial products, but hardware load balancers are very expensive to buy. If you are using a client-side load balancer, it can be easily integrated with the client application as a module, and it will cost you a very few amount of CPU and memory resources. Therefore, client-side load balancing solutions are less expensive to use. Second factor is the throughput. Software load balancers are optimized from the design level. The architectures, languages used to write the software, the supporting modules, these all are carefully chosen by the vendors to provide a higher throughput with lower latency. If you are choosing a hardware level load balancer, they are even more optimized from the hardware level itself. But on the other hand, if you are using a client-side load balancer, they are running as a part of the client application code at the application level. Sometimes they depend on generic functionalities provided by the underlying framework and libraries. Therefore, throughput of the client-side load balancers are lower than server-side load balancers. The next factor is lightweight client support. First, I will explain what is a lightweight client. Lightweight clients are the clients which are running with minimum resources, such as less CPU and memory usage. As an example, I can mention IoT devices, mobile devices, and the applications running on web browsers. These are called lightweight clients. If you are going to use a client-side load balancer with a lightweight client, it will become an overhead to the client. Therefore, it might affect the performance of the client. But if you are using a server-side load balancer, it will be the best option for a lightweight client because there's no overhead about load balancing part for the client. The next factor is the network latency. If you are using server-side load balancing, client needs to send only the original request to the server. So then the load balancing part will be handled at the server side. Client does not need to worry about that part. But if you are using a client-side load balancer, in addition to the original request, client has to send few more requests to get the number of available instances and their health status. Therefore, if the client is operating in a slow network, server-side load balancing is the best option. Final factor is microservice architecture support. Before talking about the pros and cons, I would like to explain the places where we need to have a load balancer in a microservice architecture. For that, here I have used a very simple microservice architecture diagram. You can see there's a single API gateway and two microservices as microservice A and B. Also, you can see microservice A is called by API gateway and microservice B is called by both API gateway and microservice A. Further, API gateway is called by external clients. According to the design, API gateway and both microservices should be able to horizontally scale based on the load. Therefore, each request sent to those services should be load balanced. When we talk about the API gateway, it is getting requests from an external set of lightweight clients. Therefore, using a client-side load balancer for the gateway is risky due to following reasons. One reason is we might not trust the external clients. Therefore, we should not expose them all the metadata about our server instances, such as number of available server instances and their health status. Other thing is, even though we trust the external clients, load balancing might be an overhead for them if we allow them to do load balancing using client-side load balancing. Therefore, best option would be using a server-side load balancer for the API gateway. For the other two microservices, we can use client-side load balancing. By using client-side load balancing, we can reduce the number of hops inside the microservice network, and also we can allow the client to decide the best load balancing strategy for themselves. Also, keeping the service metadata inside the client is not a threat inside the microservice network, since all the services are internally managed. Based on these decisions, this might be the final architecture. So, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys could understand the pros and cons of using server-side versus client-side load balancing strategies. Also, I hope now you can decide which method to use for a given scenario. Thank you very much.